Alright guys, got off of a long Christmas vacation. 2 weeks I didn't do any work. Look how clean my freaking nails are. I ain't done nothing. So I figure first job back, I'm gonna cut my teeth on a complete rebuild. This is on a stihl. I forget what the model is on this thing. I haven't done one of these yet. What's the model on this thing? There it is, TS350. There we are. Stihl TS350. Complete rebuild. All the parts are in a kit. They aren't that expensive at all. It's got everything. It's got the piston, the rings, the wrist pin. See, there's the rings, the wrist pin, the C clips or E clips or whatever, or the wrist pin clips, whatever they are in it. Right there, clips, wrist pin, piston. There's an arrow. I think that points to the exhaust, but we'll know when we open this up. We'll be able to tell which side's which. Now watch this video all the way to the end. This is an aftermarket setup, and sometimes there's little, modifications that you got to do on these. So on this kit here, I'll list it in the description below. Like I've had before, where this will actually bottom out on the inside, right, like on one of the corners when it's at the very lowest part, and it'll hit, and you just have to grind off like the corner or something like that. So watch till the end. I think this kit kit's going to be fine. It looks pretty good made. It doesn't look like it's, I don't see a lot of like casting marks or anything that, that haven't been cleaned up. Everything looks pretty good in here. Like they've cleaned it up fairly well. Like if you look into the corners, they're pretty clean, but you can open them up if you want. Just open the corners up to where they're the same height as the rest of it. Don't go up or down at all. I think if you wanted to change your timing, you would go up 1 millimeter on the top, but you're just basically looking for any loose pieces of metal that weren't cleaned up and try to clean them up on it. Alright, so yeah, same with the intake side. You just find, and here, let me turn this flashlight on. You can get a better view on this thing. You would look for, in the corners, it looks like they've already done a little chipping out to get the, the slag or the casting spots out of it. So they've already done some stuff. Actually, no, that's corner that needs to be cleaned. You see that? We'll reach in there with a Dremel or a little hand file, and we'll file that rough spot right there off. Same within here. There's one in here, up top a little bit, but right to that bottom right corner, just a little lip. That's, that's all you're gonna do is take them off. You can bring them straight out to the same, so where you square it off basically, and it'll give you a bit more power too. So that's the only thing so far that I'm noticing on this. Nothing major on this thing at all. It's looking actually pretty good. You don't have to do that either. You don't have to take any of them off. That's just going to give you just a bit more power. Barely noticeable, really. That's more for racing and whatnot. But some of us are perfectionists. Some of us aren't. All right. So I guess the first thing we're going to do is pull the spark plug wire. Now I haven't rebuilt one of these yet, so follow along with me. If I make a mistake, I'll let you guys see me make the mistake. We'll all learn together. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to take this recoil off first and get it out of the way. Hold on. All right, so I use a stihl tool. It's got a torque 27 on it. Also has your spark plug wrench, and this is like a 5/8 or whatever. But your spark plug also works on like this side here. So there's that part. You know, it works on these. So this is a good tool to have. T27, take out the bolts that hold on the recoil. We got one there, one here, there's one right here. Pop them out. We'll go ahead, we'll pull the air filter cover and air filter off. 2 wing nuts to get the cover off. Air filter slides right out. Then we got T27 here and T27 here. When they're full of concrete like that, just use a pick and break all the concrete free, blow it out. Alright, so we got those two off. And we got a couple of them inside. I guess let me get the flashlight back on. And then we get a couple of them in here. Take those two out. And you see what's going on in here. See all that concrete dust that's on the sidewalls? That got into the engine and burnt up the engine. That's what happened to this machine. They didn't have their air filter on properly, or they had it off part of the time, something like that. So we're going to take those two out. Now we got to get to the muffler. So we're going to have to take off this. So we're going to go ahead, take these 3 bolts off, take them out of there. It's again this tool. Oops, this side. It's perfect. I'll put this in this tool in the description. They're cheap. Great tool to have if you got any stills. Alright, let me just get this thing off and out of the way. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take, we got this 11 or 10 millimeter, and there's going to be 2 T27s in here. You may have to pick out the concrete out of them. That one's in there. So we're going to go ahead and pop those 2 T27s out, and then this 10 or 11 millimeter right here. Taking the muffler off is going to be how you tell that this needs to be rebuilt. Customer came in and told me that it needed to be rebuilt. So, you know, when they tell me what's wrong with it, I don't do any diagnostics. I do what they tell me and then go from there. But this is how you would check to see if your engine needs to be rebuilt. Now, I did pull this over and it did feel gritty. So it did scream needs to be rebuilt to me. So I think this customer did call this right. Alright, let me try to get this. I'm going to have to pick it out. So I got the one out loose. This other one, I snapped the tip of my tool off in there. Isn't that awesome? Always one that's got to be a pain in the ass. So we'll be fighting with that for the next 6 hours. It came out actually really quick. It's freaking great. The tip of my tool broke right off on that thing. And I wouldn't know, except I knew that this was longer than that. And then it wouldn't go back in. And I was like, what the fuck? Broke the tip right off. Alright, we're going to try getting that out again. I am literally fighting with this thing to get it out. There's always one that's going to give you hell. Worst case scenario, long drill bit, drill the head right off of the bolt. And let's see. So if you were to drill through this, the head would come right off, pop it out. We're replacing the cylinder anyways. You would just have to go to the hardware store, take the head in, get the right size bolt, or take the old bolt, the other bolt that's in, take it in. So if you have to, you can always just drill bolts out. Not a big deal. We're going to replace them anyways. Or not replace the bolts, but replace the head anyways. So you can put a new bolt in it. I have gotten this to start to come free, but it's fighting every step of the way. I've gotten it to loosen up a little bit, so I'm going to throw a little diesel fuel back there and see if I can't get it to break free a little easier. Diesel fuel is your friend. Diesel fuel works great for you know, a brake or oil, like PB Blaster. Diesel fuel I think works better. Alright, so we got that muffler off 3 hours later. Look at this. There is debris. It's got metal. Looks like it's metal in there. Piston is hooked. Oh, they called it right. It's all those cuts. But what is this stuff? Let's drag this stuff out. That's metal. That is metal. Let me get a magnet and see what I can find. Let me see if this is metal. I'm thinking magnet won't matter. Everything in there is aluminum. That's metal. Yeah, something happened. Something went bad. Fucking real bad. Alright. So, something real bad wrong with this. Alright, let's go ahead and pull the spark plug out. Get it out of the way. I bet we can see some damage on that too. See, this tool fits right on the spark plug too. It's a good tool to have. If I forget to list it, just make sure you remind me. Tell me on the comments. No big deal. This looks dry and color isn't horrible. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get this. I'm going to go ahead and get this cover off here. T27. I think the other two are these ones back here, so let's go ahead and pop this off. Don't see any other bolts right off the top of my head. We'll know in a minute. Nope, that was it. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Alright. I'm going to clean off all this with a can of carb cleaner so I can get a better view of what's going on. Our 4 bolts that we want to get to, our T27's down there, but we got to get the carburetor off first. So let me blast that off and see where we stand there. Just use a can of brake cleaner. Looks like a couple of 10 millimeters. Use a 10 millimeter wrench, I guess. And we'll pop them off. Just get the carburetor out of the way. And we're going to have an issue with this, I think. Yeah, typical issue. This tool should go down in there. I drill them out. The new one needs to be drilled out too. It doesn't fit in there. So we'll be getting a drill bit and drilling through all these too. That's one of the things that, you know, I use these to do my, I guess maybe you're supposed to have a long T27 extension deal that goes in there, but yeah, I just drill them out. It's easier. 10 millimeter wrench, take those 2 out. Flop it back, you know, once you get it off there, just flop it back. Make sure you give it a good rinse off. Get all the concrete cleaned up and out of there as best you can. I mean, you're going to basically use a whole can of carb cleaner on this thing by the time you're done. Just the more concrete you get off, the better. Those are 4 T27s. We'll worry about them later. Let's go ahead and find a drill bit that we need for this. Trying to get one that's pretty much the same size as this. And start with that. It looks like it might just be exactly the same size. We'll start with that one. And if I got to go to the next size up, I will. Just going to go ahead and... Oh. I'm going to have to tighten it more. right down to the bottom. So drill through that. We're going to check just to see it's a tight fit. So we'll have to go the next size up. Let's go ahead and do that now. This freaking thing. You just got to get the right tool. Going to do all 4 of them, so this should fit in there now. Boom. Yeah, perfect. We're going to do all 4 of them now. We got the right drill bit out. We're going to go ahead and do all 4 of these ones now. Carb cleaner. We're going to rinse your nice new one that we just drilled all those out. We're going to rinse it off real good. Make sure that there's no metal inside it at all. Don't forget to file out the metal spots that are inside the intake and exhaust. I'm using this is a chainsaw chain file. Just going to knock off the edges of everything. Huh?
Hello?
What's up?
Hi.
How you doing?
He's on the boat.
Oh.
Huh? I'm done.
He can drop by.
Yeah.
I'm right here right now.
What's up, boss?
How's it going? I got this saw. The rings were bad, so I changed the piston and the head. Every time I put it back together and I start it just hangs up. I got it in parts.
Yeah, I've had to tell people that a few times. I'm sorry, we don't do bag up motor.
If I put it back together, I'm like, no, dude, because I already know you've had it apart.
I can tell. I know it's just a guess, but I think you've had this apart before.
No, he's saying if he puts it back together while I work, and I was like, no, dude.
No, we don't even know. You know, got a box with a bunch of bolts and shit like that. You might have it all there, but.
Yeah, I'm not. Even if he put it together, I'm not going to do it because it's, it's been apart. You've had it apart, dude. Not.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to work on when you take it apart and
Yep.
put it back. Yeah. You know exactly what's going on.
All right. Pop it right off. There's a gasket on the back side of this. If it's on there, you got to take it with you. And take this off. This comes off. Alright, so the gasket didn't stay on this one. We need to get this gasket off very gently. We got to get it off of there. So I'm going to rinse it off with carb cleaner first. Break it up a little bit. All these parts are going to get rinsed off really well with carb cleaner. Transfer this gasket over to the new setup. And the plate we rinsed off, we're going to go over here to the new setup. Just going to kind of line it up. And I still got to rinse this block off real well, and then we'll transfer it over. So there's a little hole in the bottom of that. You're going to want to make sure that this gasket's a little hole right there lines up with that, and that these holes line up with that. And when you put this block on, it's got a little hole. You need to make sure that all lines up. Alright, so we got everything back on there, tightened down, made sure all the holes lined up. That's your vacuum line that runs your fuel pump. See, vacuum line runs your fuel pump. That's built into your carburetor. So you got to have that hooked up properly. And this one, see these diaphragms, those are your fuel pump diaphragms. All right, we're gonna give this another rinse. Just constantly rinsing all the dirt out of this. Make sure that there's no dirt in it. Okay, so now we're gonna work on getting these, see that concrete dust fell off the top, or concrete had built up until it fell off the top of this, and there's a bunch of mud basically in the bottom of this here. We're gonna have to get all that rinsed out. It's just full of grit and dirt, you know, concrete. I'm gonna have to get a new air filter for it. I don't think they've ever changed this, but we're gonna do the job all the way up to that point anyways. You know, I'm even going to use the old head gasket. I'll have to take it back apart later and put a new head gasket in it. We're pretending we're going to put an old head gasket, or the new head gasket in it, and this will work fine. I'll actually even Indian head it, and it'll seal solid as a rock. It won't even need it, but eventually that'll wear out, and we don't want that to happen. So I'll leave it. I'll be changing that out off video. I just don't have that on me right now, so we're gonna. And I don't want to leave this in pieces while I wait for one to come in the mail. So we're going to be putting it together anyways. That way we can finish this video. I'll even fire it up. It'll run, no problem. All right. So what we're going to need to do now is we're going to get a pick in this corner right here. And this clip is we're going to pry it up and get it to pop out. Be careful. Those clips go flying. Thank God we got new ones that come in this kit. But you gotta be careful, because if one of those go flying, you like to have these ones. This one went flying over into that pile over there, and well, it'll never get found again. It's gone. So we're gonna go from the other side here, and we're gonna push on the wrist pin, and we're gonna get it to push through this way. Not wanting to come out this way, so we pulled the other clip out, and we're going to try to go that way with it. It took quite a bit of effort to get the wrist pin out of the piston, but once it came out, we got the wrist pin bearing here. It's a needle bearing. We're going to want to rinse this out real good. This is just full of mud. We're going to rinse this out real good because we reuse this. So we're also going to rinse out all this. Oh, look at the mud run out of this thing where I squirted some in there earlier. We're going to rinse this whole engine out really well because we don't want any of that dirt or slime. This is all concrete dust and carbon build up. We're getting all that out of there. Like I said again, you'll be going through a whole can of this, maybe even more. I'm almost out of this already. I'm going to go through more. Really got to get in here and clean as much as we can out. I just really sprayed everything down. But I really want to wipe out as well. Just get as much debris, much dirt as we can out of this thing. Just really scrub it clean. Just try to get as much as you can out of there. Same with inside this. Slide a rag through and just floss it out. Just where the wrist pin bearing goes. I like using the old. I mean, if this one's all beat up and gone, you can put a brand new one in it. But the old still ones, I mean, they are just strong as rocks. So rinse them out and use them again. In there and floss it back and forth real good. Get it all cleaned out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the rings back on this guy. All right, so see how these are V'd? We want the V's to go over the pins. See, the pin is on the top, so we want the narrow part of the V to be on the bottom so that it goes over the pins right. So we're going to do the top one first. We're going to get it on the top one first. You got to be very careful, very gentle, because these will break. You can't over pry them. So pins on the top, he goes like that. We start it on this side and we'll slide it right up to that second set of rings, like that. You see the ring fits right on there. Like that. I got a little scratch on the piston. I don't know if you can see it. It's a very tiny one that the ring drug it. You're just going to rub that really good. Yeah, there it is. See it? Just rub that really good with your finger. Make sure there's no burrs, no metal, no loose stuff. Alright? Alright. Side with the pins is the intake side. Oh, there we go. And you'll see the arrow. That points to the exhaust side. So we're going to work on getting this back together. I'm going to get them back together. First thing though is we're going to get some oil. I'm just going to use some diesel fuel because it'll burn off real easy. We just don't want it to be in there dry. I'm going to slip this pin bearing, needle bearing, right in the rod. Then with the arrow facing towards that, we're going to slide that over that. That's going to keep that needle bearing in place. Then we're going to push our wrist pin in through. It's going to take two hands. You got to line it up to where you can see a good clean hole, you know, where it's all lined up, and then you can put the wrist pin through. So we used a little diesel fuel on this. I get it pushed in there to where it's got the groove showing, and then we're going to start putting on our clips. Let me go ahead and open these clips up. So we got the two clips. I wanted to use my shorter needle nose, but I can't find them, so I'm going to use the long ones. We grab it by this end right here. We're going to get a good solid grip on that, so we don't want that to pop out. We're going to feed this side right here into the groove first, and then we're going to work our way around, pushing it in so it's all the way in this ring. It's a pain in the butt. Alright, so we're going to make an attempt at this. You got to try not to lose this clip, but you get it to go in and just work your way around a little at a time so it's all the way in. So that actually made it all the way in. We're going to rotate it. Alright, it's rotating nicely. So that's that one. And then we're just going to do the other one just like that. Alright, we're going to try this side here. This will be the...
Okay, I can see it now.
You see it? Alright, I got that tip in. Just work our way around. Just push on it and it just goes right in. I can't believe that went in that easy. Usually it's not this easy. Okay, you see I had to rotate it a little bit and it popped right in that groove. Perfect. So we got this piston, arrow forward towards the exhaust. Alright, now we're going to oil everything. We're going to use 2-cycle oil and a clean rag. That's not clean. We're going to get a clean rag and use 2-cycle oil. But before we do that, one more final rinse because I haven't rinsed any of this off again. We're going to rinse all this off again. All the piston inside, rinse it all out. All inside here, all this, rinse it all out real good again. So clean rag, some 2-cycle oil. I like using Lucas. It's you know, semi-synthetic. It's good stuff. Just put the oil on the rag, and then we're going to wipe the inside of the where the piston goes. Wipe all the piston down. Get everything nice and oiled up. We've already cleaned everything, so nice and oiled up now. Down on where the rod meets the crank, we're just going to put a few drops, not too much. Just get some oil inside that bearing down there, because we basically dried everything out. We dried everything out with freaking the carb cleaner. So we got to get everything. We got to marry the pores of the steel with new 2-cycle oil. And 2-cycle is the best to use for this. I even use 2-cycle oil when I'm doing a 4-stroke engine. It's just a, you know, a thinner oil. It works better. All right, now we're going to take this piston, or this cylinder, and we're going to put it on the piston. Exhaust side towards the exhaust. Oh, we got to get the gasket on there first. let's get the gasket in there first. So this is an Indian head. I prefer the Indian head over this. I'll put this in the description below as well. We are going to wipe Indian head on the engine where the gasket goes, and then we're going to wipe Indian head on the cylinder on the outside area where the gasket goes. We're going to do that like that and like that. This seals the gasket. Like, it's an old school trick. You don't have to do this, but it works great. Like, even this cracked gasket, it won't leak. It'll seal it tight. Again, I'll be pulling it apart again and putting a new gasket in because the customer paid for it. But just wipe all this off the outside. Make sure there's none inside. All right. That's going to seal that gasket. It also will hold the gasket. So we're going to go ahead and clean the gasket off. It'll hold the gasket in place while you're putting the cylinder down on top of it. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead, exhaust towards the exhaust, and we're going to slide the cylinder on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the top ring is lined up, and, you know, to the pin. And then we're going to squeeze it from the bottom. It takes two hands. We're going to squeeze it from the bottom, and then we're going to slide this cylinder on over top of that first ring. Then we're going to line up the second ring, squeeze it, and then slide the cylinder down. It takes a little bit. You play with it. You gotta really be slow about it. Don't force it on. It'll fall right on once you get it perfect. Down like that. It's all the way on there. So now we're going to take and work in our bolts with a pair of needle nose. Just go in and get them in to where they belong. Takes two hands again. 4 of them started, and then you're gonna get it all snugged up, going from here to here, here to here, just kitty corner the whole time. And then you get it all snugged up. You're gonna work a little tighter until you get it nice and good and tight. Good and strong hand tight on this with no leverage on it. Just good and strong hand tight with that. Should be perfect. We're going to go ahead and make sure that the piston moves up and down freely. And then stick your thumb over it and turn it at the same time. See if you get any compression. Make sure you didn't fuck anything up. Seems good so far. Alright. Again, I got to tear mine all the way back apart. It's going to be a great time, but we're going to go ahead with this. Rinse off the carb really well, make sure it's good and clean. Reattach the carburetor, make sure there's a gasket between the two with a hole lined up on the bottom, just like the rest of it. It was when we assembled it earlier. Slide that on. We're going to take two 10mm and then hunt them down, and two 10mm nuts, and put them on. These started on. We're actually going to have to pull the carburetor out to the edge of them and then slide them in there and start them. Alright, so you can't tighten one side down before the other because it'll hit on this and break the carburetor. So you get to one side with fingers just down a bit, and then you get the other side. And then once you get them finger snugged up, then you can actually use a wrench to tighten them. Got a little broken vent line hose down in here. So anything you see like that, you might as well replace now while you got it all apart. So I'm going to replace that. It's all dry rotted out. It's junk. So it's just a piece of fuel line, not a big deal. It's no big deal. It's a little vent line. A little piece of fuel line worked fine. Alright, what's next here? Oh, let me try to figure this out. I think that this lines right up onto the carburetor. Yep. So the throttle just lines right up on the carburetor. I'm not sure about the choke. We're going to see how that works too. I'm going to need both hands. Let me look in there and see how that lines. Okay. So you want this all the way up like that. And then you want this all the way up like that. So that this metal loop will fit over the back side of this. And this will touch the front of this. So as you move it back and forth, it works. We're going to go ahead and rinse all this out real quick before we set it together. But I've got everything lined up, set up where it goes. And we're just going to set it nice, level, down into place, just like that. We're going to check. Throttle's working. Choke is working. Yep, see that lever. See the shiny part? That's that lever. Pushes it, and then the little metal loop pulls it back. So, now. Nope, not that one. Bigger one. Not that. That's too big. It's the same size. Oh, here we go. Nice fat boy right there. Put that in there. That's going to hold that in place for us. So now we've got just this one in there right now. We're going to go ahead, brand new spark plug. We'll get rid of this guy, put a brand new spark plug in. It's a CJ8, nice and tight. Put the spark plug boot on it. All right, this goes into this notch here. We're going to go ahead, since we got all this lined up, make sure that these are down in place. Give this a good rinse. Concrete out of it, blow it out with air or dump it out, whatever you got to do. Recoil. Where did my recoil go? What a mess! Rinse the inside of the recoil out real good. Not grease this. Grease will make concrete stick to it. I use a little diesel fuel and I go into the spring area. So right in that crack between this pulley and this, get some diesel in there and then pull it in and out a bunch of times. We're on 3 T27 bolts to hold it in place. Restarted before tightening, then tighten down. Got the recoil on there, pull it over a bunch of times, make sure that everything's moving freely still. We're going to go to the muffler now. We got this gasket here. This is actually not a gasket. This is a gasket. This is a spacer. So we're going to rinse this metal gasket off. Alright, hold on. So, rinse off, rinse off, rinse off, rinse off all the gaskets and everything. Metal piece, when you get it good rinsed off, goes on top of the muffler. You see the bolt's still in there. Alright, so then we're going to put the gasket on top. And then we're going to line this up with the stud on the bottom. Oh, careful not to knock those bolts in. Get lined up with the stud on the bottom. God damn it. It's easier with two hands. So go in sideways like this. God dang it. Same time trying not to show this guy's phone number, so it's a pain in the butt, you know. Alright, so get this side in and then this stud lined up right there. Now you can line up these two guys and start threading them in to the head. I'm going to throw a little bit of diesel fuel in each of those because those bolts were a pain in the ass. Up these two T27s first. Stud back here. I actually turned this nut in myself. It should be up snug to the muffler, and then you can take the other one and tighten it down on top of it, and that'll hold the muffler. It just gets rid of the vibration. Without this will vibrate and snap these studs right off into the cylinder head, and then you're rebuilding the engine again. Very important you have them. 10mm, tighten it down. And put the belt on the pulley, get all of it lined up underneath. We're going to get this cap on top. lined up and started. We're going to go ahead and not snug them down, but get them not to where so they're not so loose. Get them kind of just hand tight. You're going to need to put star in. This almost requires 2 tools. But you're going to, oh, see, this one doesn't work anymore. Going to tighten it down like this, and then use another T-handle to tighten that back bolt. Alright, so we get them all tightened up. We're going to do the air filter cover, but we need to clean this all out real good. And then we're going to take these 2 bolts with T27s. Make sure there's gasket on that carburetor in between this. Oh, dropped the bolt out. Gotta have a gasket between them. Grand finale would be this freaking air filter, but this one's old and toast. I need to order a new one of these and a new head gasket. Or jug gasket, whatever you want to call it. And then you put this guy on, you know, over top of it. And freaking, may even have to order one of them. Oh, no, that fit alright. Wish that wasn't all cracked up. Put this in after that. And then the 2 wing nuts. Oh, we got the 2. We get 2 more bolts we're missing. Don't want to do that. Oh, there's crop shot. Hey. Alright. These 2 in. Look down on my table and I got 2 bolts left over. Can't have any parts left over. Put them in. Tighten them down. Alright guys, so that's about all I can show you right now. Again, like I said, you need to do a jug gasket on it. And crank down a few times. I didn't get it to fire. I don't even know if this guy's thing's worth anything either. I don't know if his carburetor's any good or nothing. But that's a rebuild on it. I need a new filter. I need a new gasket. You know, there's just some stuff I still got to do. But this helped you out in any way, shape, or form. Give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Today's t-shirt will be in the description below. I'm out of breath. I pulled on that thing a bunch of times. Didn't get it to start. Alright guys, subscribe. Peace.